What's up, Steelers Nation? Today we're tackling a burning question. Are the Steelers stuck paying TJ Watt whatever he wants? With the 2025 NFL Draft just around the corner, there's a lot of chatter about Watt's future with Pittsburgh, especially when contract negotiations hit a crossroads. Let's break it down. For starters, think about TJ Watt's resume. Drafted in the first round back in 2017 out of Wisconsin, he's spent all 8 of his NFL seasons with the Steelers. Over that time, he's cemented his place as not only one of the best pass rushers in franchise history, but also among the elite in the entire league. When you're dropping numbers like that, leading the Steelers defense through thick and thin, it's hard to imagine letting him walk away or even trade him for anything less than a blockbuster return. In fact, in the modern era, it's practically unthinkable to see franchise icons like Ben Roethlisberger or Troy Polamalu in someone else's uniform. And here we are, questioning whether Watt can ever be moved. Now, let's take a historical perspective. Sure, there are examples of star players who eventually ended up in different jerseys. Think Franco Harris suiting up for the Seahawks or James Harrison's memorable days with the Bengals. But those moves happened in eras with different market forces and contract structures. Today, with a high-caliber pass rusher like Watt, the market would value him so astronomically that the Steelers are in a unique position. They're not just paying for production, they're investing in a legacy. If you're making a list of the greatest pass rushers to ever don the black and gold, Watt sits right at the top. So, is this enough for Watt to earn himself a lifetime pass to Steelers Nation, regardless of how much he demands? From our perspective, absolutely. Pay Watt whatever he wants. In the short term, it might force the Steelers to make some tough roster decisions or even dip into future assets. But look at the upside. TJ Watt doesn't just create disruption on the field. He changes the dynamics of every opposing offense he faces. When his presence forces teams to adjust game plans or widen their passing lanes, that's an intangible benefit that's hard to quantify. Consider the alternative. Trading a generational talent for a return that might seem tempting on paper, but would ultimately leave a hole in the defense. The Steelers' identity has been built, in large part, on having a relentless, disruptive edge rusher. So, if the decision comes down to whether to trade Watt or to invest heavily in keeping him, the answer is clear. The Steelers should be willing to pay him what he's worth, because his impact on the field is second to none. The bottom line? In today's free agent market, superstar talent like Watt sets new standards for what teams are willing to invest in. And when you're talking about a player who's been a cornerstone of your defense for nearly a decade, sometimes you've just got to make the call. Pay him whatever he wants. Sure, it might mean some short-term sacrifices elsewhere on the roster, but that's the price of greatness. So Steelers Nation, what do you think? Do you agree that paying TJ Watt top dollar is the only way to keep this generational talent in Pittsburgh? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the NFL's hottest topics, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay bold, keep the black and gold shining, and remember that in Pittsburgh, excellence is always worth the investment.
What's going on, Steelers Nation and NFL fans? As the 2025 NFL Draft approaches, the Pittsburgh Steelers find themselves at a potential crossroads. And it's all centered around their dominant edge rusher, TJ Watt. The big question looming over the Steel City is, should the Steelers be prepared to pay Watt whatever it takes to keep him in the black and gold for the long haul? Some are even wondering if the uncertainty around his contract could lead to the unthinkable, a potential trade before the draft. Let's break down this critical situation. The video you sent raises a fundamental question about how franchises handle their truly elite players. It starts by pondering whether TJ Watt could even be traded from a historical perspective. Drawing parallels to players like Ben Roethlisberger and Troy Polamalu in the modern era, guys who were considered virtually untradeable by Steelers fans. The thought of seeing either of those legends in another uniform was simply unfathomable. However, the article also reminds us that the NFL is a business. And even beloved players can sometimes move on. Citing examples like Franco Harris in a Seahawks jersey and James Harrison with the Cincinnati Bengals. These instances, while perhaps painful for Steelers fans to remember, highlight the reality of player movement in the league. This brings us back to TJ Watt. Since being drafted by the Steelers in the first round of the 2017 NFL Draft, Watt has become arguably the greatest pass rusher in franchise history, high praise for a team that has seen some of the best to ever do it at that position. He's spent all 8 of his NFL seasons in Pittsburgh and has consistently been a game-changer on the defensive side of the ball. But the question the video poses is whether Watt's legendary status and impact are enough to warrant what the article calls a lifetime pass to be a Steeler. Even if it means potentially making the 30-year-old edge rusher, who they frame as coming off a down season, the highest-paid edge defender in the entire NFL. The article's stance is pretty clear: pay Watt whatever he wants. Their reasoning is that while it might necessitate some tough roster decisions in the short term due to salary cap constraints, it's a price worth paying to keep a player of Watt's caliber in Pittsburgh. Now, let's unpack this a bit. Is it really a down season for TJ Watt? While his sack numbers might have fluctuated slightly compared to his record-breaking 2021 season, he is still consistently one of the most disruptive forces in the league. His impact goes beyond just sacks. He's constantly applying pressure, forcing turnovers, and commanding double teams that open up opportunities for his teammates. However, the reality of the NFL is that salary caps are a significant factor. If the Steelers were to make Watt the highest-paid edge rusher, it would undoubtedly have implications for the rest of their roster. They might have to make sacrifices at other positions, potentially impacting their depth or ability to sign other key players in the future. The video subtly hints at the possibility of a trade if a long-term contract agreement can't be reached. While trading a player of Watt's caliber would be a monumental decision with potentially huge repercussions for the Steelers' defense, it's a scenario that can't be entirely ruled out if contract negotiations become contentious. Ultimately, the decision on TJ Watt's contract will be a defining moment for the Steelers franchise. Do they prioritize keeping a generational talent like Watt, even at a premium cost? Or do they take a more measured approach, considering the long-term salary cap implications? What do you think, Steelers Nation? Should the Steelers pay TJ Watt whatever he wants to keep him in Pittsburgh? Or do you think there's a limit to what they should offer? Let us know, yo.
What's up, Steelers Nation? Today we're tackling a burning question. Are the Steelers stuck paying TJ Watt whatever he wants? With the 2025 NFL Draft just around the corner, there's a lot of chatter about Watt's future with Pittsburgh, especially when contract negotiations hit a crossroads. Let's break it down. For starters, think about TJ Watt's resume. Drafted in the first round back in 2017 out of Wisconsin, he spent all 8 of his NFL seasons with the Steelers.